Hey, this is Zaklog the Great. There is something bizarre going on with our leaders today. Many of them are childless. Emmanuel Macron of France, Angela Merkel of Germany, Theresa May of England, Jean-Claude Juncker of the EU, Leo Varadkar of Ireland. Now, in historical terms, this is extremely weird. Being childless, or at least officially childless, was considered a disaster, a curse. This was especially true for a monarch, but still a terrible misfortune for ordinary people. But today, it is increasingly common for political and business leaders to be childless. And this is a serious problem. If you're a parent, you might already know where I'm going with this. If not, I can explain it, but you won't really understand until you experience it for yourself. There is no other common life event which alters the way you see the world to the same degree as becoming a parent. The moment you first hold that tiny, squalling infant in your hands, you feel the earth shift beneath your feet. Suddenly, you're not allowed to be selfish anymore. Before that moment, your horizon extends to the end of your own life. After, your horizon is stretched out another 30, 40, 50 years. Before, it basically made no difference to me what happens after I'm in the ground. Now, I have to care. So, what does it mean that we have so many childless people in positions of leadership and power? It means that they are far more likely to be short-sighted, concerned only with their own lifetimes. Economist John Maynard Keynes is a great example of this. He's the theorist behind Keynesian economics, which says the government should incur debt to prop up the economy during a recession. Once, when asked how his theory works in the long run, Keynes answered, "In the long run, we are all dead." And from one perspective, he is right. But Keynes was homosexual and childless. In the long run, I am dead. But I have children. And in the long run, they outlive me, I hope. And I must take that into account. Keynes didn't. And create a system which works fine in the short term, but creates irreparable disaster in the long run. And this is why I am very nervous about all the childless world leaders. They don't have ingrained deep into their bones a concern for the next generation, for the world after them. And many of them are making decisions which are absolutely blasting the future of their nations. The childless make very poor leaders because they don't think about the future in the same way as the rest of us. And yet, there is another side to this. As with almost everything in the real world, whenever you have an upside, you have a downside. To every benefit, there is a cost. Having children forces you to develop more foresight and a broader view of what matters. But it also makes you vulnerable. You see, if I didn't have children, I would require barely anything to live. An intelligent, determined man with no wife or children can go off by himself in the wilderness and live completely unsupported. Or he can afford to live on very little among other people. He doesn't require a high-paying, prestigious job, and he worries about no one's safety but his own. For someone fighting a corrupt system, this is an enviable position to be in. If such a man is fighting for a cause he genuinely believes in, there is little you can do to him. Take away his job? Getting a survival level job for a single man is trivially easy. Kill him? If he genuinely believes in his cause, that doesn't scare him at all. The cause is bigger than he is. But if a man has a family, you can hurt him far, far worse. He needs a good job to support his family. And many men who would be willing to die in a good cause would quail at the thought of their children being harmed for the same cause. A man who has a family has obvious vulnerabilities to those willing to exploit them. Regarding world leaders, I don't think many of them are fighting for a good cause against a corrupt system. Largely, they are the corrupt system. But the principle remains. It seems almost as if the childless make terrible leaders, but perhaps excellent rebels. Then again, people leading rebellions historically don't always do the best job if they succeed and become leaders themselves. Which is preferable? Which is a bigger problem? Leaders with children or without? From abstract reason alone, I can't offer an answer. I will say, though, that going against history and human nature is probably not a good bet. I think the trend of childless world leaders is a problem. Hopefully, it's a problem our nations will survive. God be with you.